What is up, my fellow Redmen, and welcome to the season's first post-match recap of Yanks of the Kop. Joined us today, as always, is my brother Andrew and our good friend Rahomie. How are we doing today, fellas? Feels really good after 3 points.
Doing great, man. Doing great. Yeah. First video for us too. So I hope you guys like this beautiful mug I got here. But great 3 points, and I'm excited for the season.
Yeah, it feels good to be here. And yeah, it was a hard 3 points, but I'm glad we won.
Very hard 3 points. I know we're going to have a lot to cover today, but before we get into all of that, we are joined by a very special guest. He comes to us today from the YouTube channel Team Kop-Ish, and you can also find him on Twitter at Callum Sanderson. It is Callum from Team Kop-Ish. Callum, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. Love your YouTube channel, and how you doing after the weekend, my friend?
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me on, guys. Really appreciate it, and thanks for the shout out. I'll be honest, I probably aged about 5 years watching that game. Very stressful, but I'm just happy with the 3 points and happy with the win to start off the season.
Cannot agree more. But I mean, let's get right down into it. Opening game against newly promoted Leeds, our first game as defending champions. Like Klopp said, he wanted to attack the title this season, not defend it. But I think we have a lot to talk about. 4-3 final. Pretty good performance from Mo Salah, obviously with the Hattie. A lot of defensive issues as well, and I just thought Leeds were pretty impressive. But Callum, as the guest on the show, I want to start it with you. Overall, what were your takeaways from the game?
I think you summed it up perfectly when you said what Klopp said in terms of he wanted to attack the league and not defend it, because that's how we played. we played well attacking, but we didn't defend well at all. I think we started off the game really well. We started sharp, obviously won the penalty quite early. Salah converted. However, the manner of the goals we conceded, it really does, it fills me with a bit of concern. I mean, the first one, from a Leeds standpoint, it's a very good goal, but from our standpoint, it's something that could have been avoided. Same with the second goal as well. And then obviously the third goal, you're thinking, right, we're going 3-2 at half time. We didn't play very well. We'll consolidate in the second half, not concede, and then hopefully get a fourth and then maybe a fifth. But again, it just didn't happen. The players looked complacent in areas. Obviously, Van Dijk's mistake. Gomez didn't look right. Trent didn't look right. Henderson looked a bit off the pace, even though I think he had a good game. But it's worth noting that obviously Henderson and Trent hadn't really done anything in pre-season, and this came back from international duty as well. So I don't want to be too harsh on the players. And I still think we've got a fantastic team, and I still think, as things stand right now, with no transfer activity from the other teams for a little while, I think we'll win it. But it's not going to be an easy season this season, and we have to play better against the better teams if we're going to retain this title.
Spot on. I mean, absolutely spot on. I completely agree. I mean, homie, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I think kind of like summed it up really. But I think I think I've said before, it has been a concern since lockdown how some of the players are playing. In terms of there's been a massive drop off. I think in terms of the concentration and the levels that people are playing at. And I think people have gotten. I think one of the things that we struggle is it's because we haven't got the competition in certain places. So certain players don't feel pressured. So they, however they play, they're going to play. So Van Dijk's always going to get played week in, week out, whether he plays well or not. And I think that kind of sometimes counts against us. And I feel that I think a lot of these issues will be ironed out eventually, and it's not a massive concern. But obviously going into the next 2 games we have to raise our performance. And we have to, because a lot of Leeds goals came from mistakes. Leeds had, I think, 3 shots on target and 3 goals.
Yep.
And that's rarely for Leeds that normally have a really bad conversion ratio. So I think most of our goals just came from our mistakes. And I think just need to iron them out. And I think some players probably Gomez needs a rest. And, Matic needs to come in. And so I just feel like the issues that we can resolve, but we need to start, we've got 8 days into the next game. We need to start focusing on the defending side of it, because we're playing the 17-18 in Liverpool, where we just conceded loads and just attacked. So I think we need to go back to the basics.
I completely agree. I mean, I haven't seen our defense look that bad in a long time, to be honest with you. Just the mistakes they were making, the lack of communication, pretty poor across the board. But Andrew, what were your biggest takeaways?
Yeah, for me, I think it comes down to what Klopp said. We're going to attack the title and not defend it. after seeing this game, I hope we do defend a little bit because that was just awful. For me, came down to poor positioning defensively. We lacked awareness. Joe Gomez diving in when he probably should more have contained on the first goal instead of just diving in. I think he ultimately got megged, and then we got beat near post. Van Dijk's mistake, I think, just came down to arrogance. He's kind of looked like that for the past almost year, I would say, and he's gone away with it. But now, especially a team like Leeds, you can't really do that. We can't afford to make those types of mistakes. The good news for me is that our defense is top quality, and these fixes and these mistakes should be easy fixes. I prefer these types of issues than issues up front. So, we put in 4 goals. I think we're going to be okay.
No, I agree, and you brought up an interesting point there. Especially with the defense, I wasn't expecting them to play this bad, but it kind of makes sense when you look at it, considering, Trent really just started playing, about a week or 2 ago, so he's not up to fully fitness yet. Same thing with Henderson. He really just started getting back into the swing of things. And Virgil, like you said, Andrew, for the past year, we give him a lot of credit for always being calm and composed on the ball, but it's almost getting to the point where it's almost too far at times. Now he's making a couple of mistakes here and there, so I think he just needs to lock it down a little bit and show a little bit more urgency. But outside of Robertson, just the entire back line, Virgil, Gomez, Trent, they were all, they all picked the worst time to have probably their worst games that they're going to have for a long time. And we probably played Leeds at the worst time that you'd want to play Leeds. Their first game back, being in the Premier League, playing in the Bielsa system with the constant pressing, just high motors on everybody. Like, they played proper football and they played their style of football. And first game of the season, they're going to have that energy regardless. And to go to Anfield with no fans in the stands, there was nothing to really throw them off their rhythm unless we did something. And I thought we actually did play pretty well in that first 30 minutes. It was just, piece of great play, for their goal, but we also could have prevented that. And I think if that first goal doesn't go in, we kind of would have been cooking a little bit more. But Callum, I want to go back to you because coming into this game, one of the biggest talking points obviously was Thiago. We need to upgrade our midfield, that sort of a thing. And one of the people that everyone's been eyeing for is Naby Keita. And I thought he was great in about the first 25, 30 minutes and then fell off. But, Callum, what were your thoughts on his performance?
So yeah, Naby's a tough one. Naby's actually a player that I think talent-wise is our most talented midfielder. However, he's just not been able to show it, whether it be form or injury. On the back of how he ended last season and how he played in pre-season, I thought this would be his breakout season. However, that Leeds game again concerned me a little bit because he just looked off the pace. There was a couple of the Leeds midfielders were running away from him. He wasn't following his markers. He was losing the ball and thinking, that's not Naby. So it seemed as though I'm going to hope and short that down to that was just an off game for him. However, because of his reputation preceding him in the last couple of years since he's been at Liverpool, fans are going to be a bit harsh with him. But I'm willing to give him this season. However, if he doesn't perform this season or the injuries persist, then I think we're going to have to start looking at readjusting the midfield and who we actually build around in midfield. Because apart from Henderson and Fabinho and Wijnaldum, I wouldn't even say Henderson and Fabinho, to be fair, because they get injuries as well. Apart from Wijnaldum, you can't really rely on another midfielder to get you sort of consistent 30 plus games throughout the season, which is a bit of a concern.
Yeah, but Callum, for me, I think most of the midfield kind of had a tough time in this game. I think everybody played decently well. They played good. They didn't play great by any means, but I think in times like this, in a game like this, you kind of have to tip your hat to Leeds. I thought that they did a really good job. That press is pretty damn effective. Like Steven said, I thought Keita played really well in the opening, 20, 25 minutes, and then he slowly fell off, and we made the early change in the second half. But I think he had a great preseason. I'm still gung-ho for him. I hope he comes out on top. But no, I definitely see your concerns.
No, and I agree with you there as well. That what you're saying just brings a bit of what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of calm to the fan base, because I think as fans sometimes we can be so reactionary. Yeah. But what you say there, it does make sense. Yeah, it does make sense. We can't say he's rubbish all of a sudden when since lockdown he's probably been our best midfielder. And as you said, Henderson looked off the pace in spells, and Wijnaldum didn't have a good game either. So all the blame can't fall on Naby Keita's shoulders.
Right.
I think as well, like, I was disappointed that we went 4-3-3 when we were practicing 4-3-2-1 most of the preseason. So I didn't understand why he did that massive change. I think the players got used to playing that formation, and then all of a sudden to then go back to 4-3-3. I think that caused also confusion as well. So I would have preferred us to stay, even for the next game now, I want us to go back to the 4-2-3-1 position and stick with that, because allow that to build in rather than just going back to the 4-3-3. And I think that played a part.
No, I agree. I agree with that too. And I actually thought it was pretty interesting because, like Andrew said, and kind of what we've talked about a little bit is, the midfield really was kind of just a pedestrian game. It wasn't really great. Wasn't bad per se, but just really didn't shock you, didn't blow your mind or anything. And I thought it was very interesting. And I was even saying it to Andrew when we were watching the game. I don't remember the last time we played a game where we did not play through Robertson and Trent like we did this past game. I think Trent only had 1 or 2 touches on the ball in the first half going forwards. So that's what Naby Keita can bring. And that's something that we've all talked about, is having somebody in that attacking midfield role that can really provide you a lot more creativity. And so we don't rely on Trent and Robertson to create everything. So teams can't just do a 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1 and just, crowd those wings. So even though our team was a little bit pedestrian in the midfield, I did take that away as a positive, that we were playing a lot more through the midfield, trying to create that way. And if we can get more consistent performances out of Keita or even from Wijnaldum or Curtis Jones, that's going to add a whole nother dimension. So when Trent does get fully fit, where, we can beat you in a number of different ways.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about Leeds a little bit more, because I was really, really surprised. I mean, I did expect them to pack a punch, but just they never stopped playing their brand of football. And I really think that this is going to be a team that's going to be challenging for a top 10 spot. So, what are your guys' thoughts? Is this kind of are they just riding a high from being in the Premier League, or do you think that this is something that they can sustain month in and month out?
I think they'll sustain it. It's a Bielsa team. I looked at them. I mean, I've been quite fortunate because I've been able to watch them a little bit last season, because selfishly I was watching them to see how Ben White would play, because I was hoping we'd try and go for someone like Ben White. But they just play a beautiful brand of football. I mean, in my opinion, they played out of defence better than we did on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I can't say that for many teams that we play against. So for them to come up and do that, it was reminiscent of how we played against Norwich on the first game of the season last season. However, Leeds were just better. So I think Leeds are going to take a few scalps this season of some of the big teams, and I think they'll be more than safe this season. I expect them to finish between 12th and 9th. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I was just surprised how they came to Anfield and they didn't sit back and defend for 90 minutes. They came in with a plan. They were tactically sound. They were extremely fit. And they just attacked us. When was the last time that Liverpool were outpassed and outpossessed by someone outside of the top 6? I don't remember when it was. I really don't.
Yeah.
Especially at Anfield. I mean, I know there's no fans, but still, it packs a presence. But no, I was incredibly impressed by Leeds. I mean, I did just finish the Amazon documentary, or the 6-part series, so that was really exciting to watch. I actually knew some of the players, which was great. But I think they're going to finish inside the top 10. I could see them finishing like 9th, like Callum said. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. Giant killers for sure.
Yeah, I think as well. I agree with that. I was surprised at how they outran our midfield. Our midfield really, until Fabinho maybe came on in the second half, did it look like we started to get some kind of foothold in it. Otherwise, they outpressed us. And I think that's how Leeds are all set up under Bielsa. Like, there's high press and lots of energy. So I don't think we maybe prepared enough for that kind of press that they were going to come at us. But I still felt at the same time, as good as Leeds were, I felt overall each time they did score, we did score again. Like, we still had that in us to then grab a goal. And obviously when we scored the 4th goal, that kind of Leeds didn't really have anything afterwards in terms of being able to come back. So, but I do agree with you guys. I think that Leeds will do like a Sheffield United and finish quite high, and actually surprise a lot of teams with their style of play. And obviously, I'm not going to look forward to going to Ellen Road. I think that's going to be a tough place to go and get a result.
Absolutely. No, I think it's going to be a tough place to play. And what's even scarier is that like this wasn't even their best 11 either. You know, they had Rodrigo on the bench. You know, so once he gets into the system, you know, that's going to even give him more firepower. And they're still being linked. And what's that?
Thank God he came in.
Yeah, thank God he came in and drew that penalty for us. Thank God. But no, then they're even trying to strengthen more. You know, they've been linked to Harry Wilson, a couple other guys. So it's going to be interesting to see what this team looks like at the end of at the end of the transfer window. And once all these guys get into the system, I mean, they're going to be a well-oiled machine, that's for sure. But one thing that drives me absolutely insane about this game, and I got into it a lot with people on Twitter when I was a couple drinks in there, was that they were trying to use this game as a reason as to why we needed, we really needed Thiago because of this. We really needed additions to the midfield because of this game. But again, when I look at the game, all three of the goals could go back to either Trent, Gomez, or Virgil being out of position, or even if you want to throw in Gini Wijnaldum for not covering on one play, you can do that too, and same with Curtis Jones. But when I looked at that game, I wasn't concerned about really how we played going forwards. It was really just if we didn't make these defensive mistakes, this game would have been over a lot earlier. So, I mean, when you guys looked at the game, did that make you think we need to bring in more people?
From my point of view, I think you've expressed that perfectly. I mean, I think in terms of just that game to me doesn't say we need Thiago because of that game. I think we need Thiago because it gives us a different dimension. But going on the basis of that game, we created chances. We, for the most part, dealt with Leeds defensively. We opened them up quite a few times as well. But we weren't clinical in front of goal. And as you said, two, we made defensive mistakes. When that happens, you're either going to have a high-scoring game where you scrape a win, or you're going to effectively potentially lose. So we actually came out on the right side of a result that probably a couple of years ago we would have been scratching our heads thinking, how did we lose that game? However, Thiago, I'm a bit biased because I'm a massive fan of Thiago. I do think we need him. I think he adds a separate dynamic and dimension to our team. It takes a lot of the onus of Trent and Robbo as well. It allows us to play different formations, a different style. It'll allow us to adapt to different teams, I think, a bit better as well. So I hope we get him, but not based on that Leeds game, just because I want us to dominate the league and Champions League.
Yeah,
I want to go.
Yeah, go ahead, Mohamed.
No, so I'm going to add one thing that might be a bit different. So I feel that if you look at the game yesterday, our midfield didn't control that game. You know, there was at no point did we have full domination of possession or really control it. And I feel that if you look at the goal, people obviously blaming Wijnaldum for the third goal, but Jones doesn't track his runner, and he just allows the guy to run and score. And obviously, I feel that obviously there were mistakes made over that game, but I feel like I'm not saying we needed Thiago base in that game, you know, but I do feel if you had a Thiago in there, you'd keep the ball better, you control the game better, and you'd actually be the one running the tempo of the game and actually run the game rather than it being frenetic and fast paced. Because that game reminded me of how we used to play under Brendan Rodgers, you know, end to end, scoring goals. We had no control in midfield whatsoever. And I feel that's probably, I can see why some people are saying Thiago, because he'd bring that control. He'd bring that, you know, he'd be happy to receive the ball off the different midfielders and play it and show that option. So I can see why people are saying that. But overall, obviously, the goals did come from defensive errors majorly. So he wouldn't fix that, but he would have given some element of control. That's the only different aspect I'd give to it.
Yeah, I completely agree with both of you on both your points, but my only thing was that the midfield allowed their midfield way too much time on the ball. I mean, first goal, Calvin Phillips basically had a century to pass that ball out wide to Dallas, or was it Harrison?
Harrison.
Yeah, Harrison. And then the second goal, I'm not sure if it was Calvin Phillips again or who it was, but he had a long time on the ball as well. So our press, I don't think, was as effective against these guys. Maybe it's because Henderson was off the pace a little bit, but I don't know. I think we're fine going forward. If we don't get Thiago, I don't know if we'll win the title. If we do get Thiago, I think we will.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, you bring up a really good point with how open it was and how back and forth it was and how it really did. Now that you guys brought those couple points up, we really don't have that guy in the midfield when shit hits the fan. He's just going to sack up and say, I'm taking control of this fucking midfield. We really don't have that guy. Like Henderson is the leader. He keeps everybody organized in that regard. But, you know, Fabinho will go hard into a challenge here and there, but we really don't have anyone that's going to come in and hit you in the mouth. And like, no matter where the ball is, I'm going to go run and get that ball and control the game. We don't have that. And Thiago would be the guy to do that. So that's a good point there. But, I did see that we just brought in some young goalkeeper. I think he was like 17 from Brazil. Seems to be everything I've read, positive future. You know, but I think that's like the 6th or 7th young goalkeeper we brought in. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know much about him, but I know that Allison recommended him. Like, because I think they trained together. I think a while back they used to train together. So, but he is highly rated. And he is in the mold of an Allison, so he will, if he hits potential, save us money. He's got a German passport, so he doesn't need a work permit, and he will qualify as homegrown because he's under the age of 21. So if he hits potential, he'll save us millions.
That's huge. No, that's huge. And the one other thing I want to talk about in regards to this game, I did want to spend a minute on Mo Salah, just because, hand up, I gave him a lot of shit for his preseason performances. I said that he was probably our worst player in preseason, and then he came out and, you know, had a beautiful hat trick. And what I loved about his performance is I know that he got 2 penalties, but even if he didn't get those 2 penalties, he was the best player on the pitch. It was like watching him from 2 years ago. I feel like last year he heard a lot of the talk about him being really selfish. So he made a point to try to get his teammates more involved, but I thought, in this game, he knew he had the advantage. Anytime he could take a guy man on, he was doing it. And when that happens and he's drawing all that attention, that's when it frees up things for other people. So I want to see that Salah. I want to see him being selfish because it's going to open up everything for everybody else. Now, what do you guys think of his performance? I mean, that's 9.5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, for me, he's just special, man. Every season, the doubt is he going to be able to hit the heights of the previous season? And every season, I mean, this is the 4th season in a row where he's scored on the opening day for us. Yep. That in itself is an incredible stat. I looked at pre-season and I did understand the concerns. He did look off the pace, but I always say with Salah, he's one of those players that when it's time to shine, when the big lights are on, if I was to compare it to a boxer, for example, he's probably someone who spars and probably gets beaten up in the gym every day. But when the bright lights come on and he's on pay-per-view and there's thousands of fans watching, he'll go and get a knockout. And that's exactly what he did on Saturday. Pre-season, again, I agree, he was poor. But when it's time to stand up and be counted, he's one of the first people you look to, and long may it continue at Liverpool.
Yeah, but Callum, have you seen that guy's 6-pack? I don't know if anybody's really going to be.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah, right? No, I completely agree. For me, I'll just add that at the post-match, Allison came out and he said Mo is angry. This is an angry Mo Salah. You know, he didn't get into the team of the season. He didn't get the golden boot. And this brings us back to 17-18. He wanted to prove all the doubters wrong. Oh, you didn't think I could do it at Chelsea? Well, I'm going to do it at Liverpool. And that year he had 44 goals in all competitions. So, I mean, he's off to a great start, man. I hope he can keep it up.
Yeah, I think with Salah, he's grossly underrated by a lot of rival fans. Like the disrespect he gets, it's crazy how they don't. You know, a lot of people saying because of oh, he's not in the top 3 players in the league, all this kind of stuff, and it's like nonsense. Like consistently, he's scoring the goals. And, you know, like, it didn't surprise me. You know, I did feel, obviously, I had the concern, obviously, that Stephen over pre-season. But then, you know, there was that thing, like, that did feel like, well, Salah is the man, especially at home. He's the man to be counted for. He will step up and score you goals. And I think also because Trent was quite tightly marked, it allowed Salah more space because of focusing. And also because I think Leeds played 1-on-1. So rather than Salah normally having 2 or 3 players, he had 1 person. So that allowed him more space, and I think he killed Leeds. I mean, that goal of his was crazy.
Oh.
Like, it was a madness.
Oh, no, it was beautiful.
Window that he put that in, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, no goalie in the world is going to save that. But, you know, The other two on the top on the front three, I feel like we have to have a conversation about because Mane had great movement, but even at the end of last year, this preseason, and now in this first game, his first touch is really failing him because there's so many times he gets himself in perfect position, and all he needs is that good first touch to set up a shot, and it's going to be a goal every time. And it feels like he has no feel for that first touch right now, and he cannot seem to get the ball out of his feet when he wants to. And then, one step further with Firmino, again, I'm not going to complain about Firmino and his finishing. It is starting to get a little frustrating, him finding himself in decent positions and he's either getting blocked or he's not using the right foot. But again, he was behind Keita at times. He was behind Henderson at times. He was coming all the way in to receive the ball. So I'm not going to, press him too much. But I was more concerned with the Mane and his first touch. Did you guys pick up on that too?
Yeah, I did. I mean, all right, a little disclaimer. I'm Bobby's biggest fan, hence why I got
I love it.
So you may have to take what I say about Bobby with a pinch of salt. Mane, I think, in terms of overall play, as you said, was really good. But as soon as he got into that final third where we had to be devastating, it just evaded him. And usually he's the one who's probably the most devastating out of the front three, which is weird. Bobby is such a weird one. And I'm so on the fence with what we do with Bobby now, because I think, do we try and get a killer striker and drop Bobby into his natural position of a 10, or do we persist and will someone like a Thiago who comes in and play makes from slightly deeper actually help him? It's difficult. I mean, I can't sit here and make excuses for when Bobby gets into a good position and shoots and misses, because there's no excuse for it. But at the same time, what you said of him being deeper than Henderson and Keita speaks a lot to he's not having that first thought of I need to be in the box. His first thought is I need to help build up play. And maybe that isn't going to work for us this season. I just don't know. I can't put my finger on it.
Well, I'm curious if Bobby would do better in a 4-2-3-1. That pressure, maybe put Salah up top, or Minamino up top. I don't. You could definitely play around with it, but if Bobby's sitting back a little more closer to the midfield, maybe that would help his confidence. Maybe he'd shoot more from outside the box. I mean, I don't know. It would change things up because he was wide open on goal, and he tried to take that shot with his right foot. I mean, let it slide to your left and just put it bottom left, and it's an easy goal.
Yeah.
It's just. But I actually thought he played a really good game. I thought that he was pressing very effectively. He was dribbling past and gliding past the Leeds opponents, and he was linking up with Salah and Mane pretty damn well. So, I'm not worried about his overall play. I just want to see him get goals. He needs to get goals.
Yeah.
I think we need to remember that Bobby is 10 that's been converted into a striker. So, that's why I think in the 4-3-2-1 he comes alive a bit more because of he's played in that his natural role. And plus also he hasn't got the competition. I would love to have seen what would have happened if we had signed Werner and given him that competition.
Yeah.
Because as much as I like Minamino, I think he's a good player. I don't think he's the natural replacement for Bobby. I think Minamino is going to be someone that plays behind more rather than actual out-and-out strikers as Bobby does. So I just feel that we don't have the competition, and that's why, if we had the competition for Bobby, I think it would spur him to go to another level. And I think also him dropping deep is because he doesn't believe in the creativity coming from behind him. So if we had a Thiago, he wouldn't drop deep because he knows Thiago can bring the ball upfield. Thiago can play the pass. So I think Thiago would bring the best out of all the front three and the players around him.
You said it right there. I mean, when Firmino was at his best, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he's still fantastic right now. I mean, he's my favorite player too. But when he was at his best was when we had Coutinho, who could take the ball through the midfield and have those quick little link-up plays, 1-2 passes. Coutinho finds Bobby, who finds Mane, who goes back to Coutinho. Those tricky little passes when it's congested, that's when he was at his best. And I feel like, especially now that we've been in more of a 4-3-3, and we really haven't had that defined attacking midfielder that we can rely on for link-up play. That's when he's kind of started to fall off. Not fall off, but especially when other teams evaluate him saying that he's shit and that sort of a thing. I think going to that 4-2-3-1, having a little bit more, having the our wingers not as wide, having that guy pretty much connected with him, that number 10, that's when we're going to see him. Like even in preseason, his connections were so much better. And I think that's what he needs. He needs a creative guy around him who can find his feet and then know what direction to move to get the ball back.
Yeah, sure.
Well said, Stevie.
Awesome. But that pretty much covers everything that I wanted to talk about the game. I know we have a couple minutes before we have the hard stop. Do you guys want to cover Chelsea? Do you guys just want to get into that maybe later this week?
Next time, that's a whole other topic, I think.
Cool. But what about some other transfer updates? Wahomie, I know you're kind of right on top of that with all the dominoes falling. What are you hearing in terms of potential movement with guys like Grujic and especially Harry Wilson?
I just heard that Wilson's close to Leeds. That's in advance. I don't know the feed, but there's from what I've seen from some Leeds people, they're saying that it's quite advanced. And then Grujic, they're saying as well that Borussia Mönchengladbach, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Mönchengladbach.
Yeah. Apparently they bid for him. So Liverpool in talks with him, and also they're saying that Karius has a bid as well. So there might be movements this week on those players from what I've been reading. And
please God, that'd be great. Get a couple of movements. Get some Thiago in here with a couple of movements, please God.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Well, in that case, I think we're good to wrap it up here. Before we go, thank you so much for coming on, Callum. That was awesome. But just one more time, how can everybody, connect with you, and how can we hear you talk more?
As you said, my personal Twitter handle is @Callum Sanderson. Feel free to slide in my DMs as long as it's not inappropriate. You can also find me on @Team Kop-Ish along with Drifty and Matt. You can find us on YouTube. It's Kop-Ish, so Kopish. That's where you usually find me. And yeah, feel free to just come and interact. I'm more than open to speaking to people, and yeah, loving what you guys are doing as well. So it's been an absolute pleasure coming on, and really appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it.
Back as well.
Yeah, we're definitely going to want to have you back on, especially with some big games coming up here. We love your content. I think this conversation was great. So anytime that you want to come on, feel free to shoot us a message, and we'd love to have you on. But Andrew and Wahomie, any last words for the folks out there?
Yeah, Callum, do you have any other reprints of that Bobby mask or Bobby face?
Yeah, I mean, I'll pass it on if you want. I'll get it sent over.
All right. Well, we love it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Keep an eye out for a major announcement coming later this week. From Yanks to the Cop. We also have a Facebook and YouTube page coming out tonight. Tonight will be the first time anything's posted. Keep an eye out there on Twitter. We'll share all the links. But otherwise, thank you so much, and catch us later this week for our pre-game Chelsea match. Up the Reds, baby.
Up the Reds.
Up the Reds. See you guys later.
See you guys.
Take care.